is Elijah O'Neill, and I will be interviewing for the 3D artist position. My creative process as a 3D modeler usually starts with conceptualization and planning, research and reference, getting ideas of what I'm going to be making. Obviously, I have to know what I'm making to begin with, and then I'm going to do research on that thing to make sure I'm making it to the best of my ability. And once I have a good idea of what I'm going to be doing, I have my reference images, I've done my research on the thing, measurements, whatnot. I'll start modeling. And in the modeling process, I'm going to create the object, making sure it's optimized for the situation at hand, low poly, good edges, good geometry. And throughout that process, will be trying to get feedback on that from both the client and people around me, my peers, friends, family, whatever, unless of course it's confidential. And then after the model is finished, I will move to texturing and testing it as I go, rendering, make sure the textures look good. And then there's integration. I have to make sure it's working within the application that is going to be used in. So moving it into Unity or Unreal, making sure it's rendering fast, optimized for the application, working well. And then once I have all of that information, I know how it's performing, I can refine it. So go back in, change the mesh, do some remeshing, make sure it's correct poly count. If it's going slow, I can reduce the poly count, or I can reduce my texture resolution, anything to try and help speed that up, but still retain the quality of the product. And once everything looks good, I will give it the final delivery. If I was told to design something without context, I would need to ask a few clarifying questions. So I would go to the client and I would ask them questions to get a better idea of what they're looking for and kind of try and get them to expand on their ideas. Otherwise, I could feed them some ideas that I have based on what they've told me and try and see what sticks, what kind of piques their interest, and use that information to start. I can, come up with some concepts, conceptualize for them, say, here's this idea, what do you think of this? We can maybe do something with this, and try and get them to latch onto something, expand. We want to, create concepts. We need a clear picture of what we're looking for. So even if someone doesn't really know, you can get that information out of them. Otherwise, once I kind of have an idea of what I need to do, I'll go about my normal process. And particularly if the client originally did not really know what they want, I would keep them more in the loop through the modeling process to make sure that it is going how they want it. And I can make revisions as I go based on what they kind of discover that they want. I have not yet had a situation where I've disagreed with the client's feedback, but I would say I take criticism fairly well, and if it were to happen, I would be able to steer it in a positive direction. It's all about making the client happy and compromising. So if a client does not like where it's going and they make a suggestion, and it's something that I wouldn't normally think was a good idea, I might say, okay, you make a good point. However, maybe we could do this. So for example, let's say they want something on a model to be higher detail and we have to worry about poly count. I would say, okay, you make a good point. It should be higher detail, you're right. However, we have to maintain a certain poly count and we are bordering on that limit. However, I can use a normal map to achieve that level of detail for you if that's what you want. And we compromise, and it's in a way that makes them feel good. We want to not use negative terminology. When we want them to be happy with what's going on, they want to feel in control. And I, as the person working on this thing, want to make my job as easy as possible. So the more that I can make them feel like they're the one making that decision, which they are making that decision, but I'm kind of leading them to make the decision that I want them to make that still benefits them, but it also benefits me. So The client doesn't always know best, but however, it's sometimes it's good to get a set of eyes on it that are not super in with the industry, like someone who does not know necessarily what they're looking at watching. If I was modeling, they don't know exactly what's going on. They just say, well, why is it like that? I think it should be like this. It kind of gives a new perspective sometimes because they don't know what they're looking at. And someone who knows super in depth what the industry is like and knows the techniques that I'm employing, they might overlook that super obvious thing that somebody who doesn't know what they're looking at will see. And I think that is helpful in most cases. Thank you.